All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting edition of Know Your Enemy, a primer in black and white. Joining me today, my co-host, Brock Ganeles, BG, the Uptown Point Guard, aka, wow, let's run the fast break. He loves to run the break. I'm Purple Hayes, Mark Hayes, based in Atlanta, and joining us today, a very special guest, Hervé François. Hervé, where are you joining us from, my friend?
Mark, thanks very much for having me on this show. I am here in central New Jersey. Call it about an hour north of Philly, about an hour and a half south of New York City. Um, truly honored to be a guest on your show. I go way back with your co-host there, Brock Ganeles. We used to run the streets of New York City back in the days. In I would say our former career path and everything else like that. But we all obviously have stayed in touch throughout the years, always talking sports, talking business, talking politics, and so on and so forth. So I'm so happy to be here and do it on this platform. And I typically say, man, let's just jump into it and get started.
Hervé, quick question. Central Jersey, is your area like, is it a purple like sort of district? Is it a Democrat Republican stronghold? What is your part of Jersey?
It's a great question. It is a blue Democratic stronghold, right? So I'm literally 10 minutes south of Princeton, New Jersey, and Princeton University specifically. And so Princeton University, right, very liberal Ivy League school, alma mater to Michelle Obama herself. She has a big fan base over there. When the election was taking place, or I would say when a lot of the campaigning was taking place last year, there was a lot of get out the vote, a lot of campaigning for Kamala all around the university and the surrounding area. So yeah, it's very blue over here. Up northern Jersey, closer to New York City, also blue. Some pockets of red, but also blue. But then when you get to southern New Jersey, a little bit more red. Southern New Jersey,
Really?
coastal New Jersey, a little bit more red. So much so, I think Trump actually held a rally in coastal New Jersey, one of the Jersey Shore beach towns there last year, very well attended by his fan club and his fan base and everything like that.
Makes sense. Expensive property on the coastline.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Shocking that Jersey Shore crew would be a
Yeah.
a MAGA
MAGA.
group. All
Yeah.
right, well, I jumped in there. Back to you, Hervé. I mean, I guess the question is, what was on your mind? Where do you want to take us today?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's I've watched several of the videos that you guys have done over the past couple of months. Always very informative and everything else like that. Brock, you and I, we always we catch up on the phone often just to kind of take a temperature of what we're feeling in regards to truly what's transpiring in front of our very eyes. And I think what a couple of things that have caught me off guard since the election has been over is the speed in which these changes are taking place within the administration, not only at the public level, but also at the private level. A lot of it is copy and paste directly from Project 2025, right? They put the outline there for us last year, just in case we didn't know what's going on. So even though, we may not be surprised to see as much is going on, I think we're still shocked because it is an morphing of our democratic government, in right in the main state and foundation in which it was founded. I mean, I think in front of our very eyes, we are seeing the unraveling of it. We are seeing the peeling of the Constitution taking place page by page, chapter by chapter. It's sad to see. It's not just affecting black people. It's affecting white people. It's affecting men. It's affecting women. It's affecting adults. It's affecting children. It's affecting people from. It's affecting our neighbors up north, right? Obviously, our neighbors down south, and who used to be our allies, just across the pond, and everything else like that. So, um, I do believe. So I think the speed in which these changes are taking place is very shocking. I'm not surprised by the speed because I do believe the speed is by design, almost kind of like turning on the fire hose so you don't even have time to think and time to go ahead and make an adjustment as to what is going on, right? As soon as you do, they're going ahead and going forward with something else. Some of these things are not only shocking, but they're just egregious. Violations of the Constitution, violation of laws, superseding protocols and policies in place in regards to some things that need to be decided by a body of Congress and not by the president or Supreme Court and so on and so forth, right? I mean, truly, three bodies of government for a reason. And I don't see in our current democracy all three branches of government acting the way they were designed and the way they were supposed to be acting. And that to me is the most frustrating of all. And I'll leave it here before turning it over to you guys in regards to, how do we get out of this, right? And Brock, you and I, we touched upon it before. Yeah, at least you shared with me, what you would like to see. And we could, maybe we'll talk about this later in the show, but just as, my blurb in regards to a solution is, although I'm not optimistic that we're going to be seeing this anytime too soon, is the Republicans in power, in Congress, in the House and the Senate, they're the ones that are going to have to stand up and say, enough is enough. This is not who we are. Regardless of how much we may be behind you in changing this, in getting rid of this department, in laying off these people and that people, you need to go about it by the right way. And right now you are not. And
we got to rely on Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and I mean,
Good luck on that one.
I mean, I'm not. That's it's hard to be optimistic that group of people. Like, where's possibly the line for them where it's enough is enough?
That's exactly my point. You heard it from Mitch McConnell a couple of days ago. I'm done. He's done. He's not running again next year. And I would not be surprised just because this is not his party. He doesn't recognize what's going on. He can't just stand idly by and watch this happen. Now, he's quitting. That is his form of action.
Right.
That's not the form of action that we need, but I understand why he's doing it. He grew up in Reagan's Republican Party.
I know, I get it. Mitch is fine with a Confederate flag. He's fine with that. The Nazi flag, maybe we've moved one flag too far for Mitch. Is that?
Well, it's listen. We have heard Mitch kind of say things against Trump in the past, not only in this presidency, but Trump's first presidency, right? Mitch hasn't shied in his disapproval of Trump, even when Trump was running the very first time and everything else like that. I mean, he was very vocal about everything. It does not make me a Mitch McConnell supporter or lover by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he saw this day coming, and this day is here, right? This day is here right now. Listen, folks, you have to understand, my parents grew up in a country with a dictator in Haiti, okay, François Duvalier. And I was talking to my dad this morning a little bit more, and he's like, this is what you're seeing. In the manner that Trump is acting, he is acting like a dictator. And the thing is, what is scary about it is that no one of his supporters are doing anything about it, which to me just makes them as complicit as him. Right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes dictators, they don't have a whole hell of a lot of support. They may just have the military, and that's about it. But he has widespread support, not only within Congress, but also with the people that just voted him in. So some folks that have voted him in, they're like, I didn't know he was going to do this. I know he's going to do that. but they've given him a long leash, and they're going to see this play out. But by the time you finish watching this play out, the damage would have been done. So let me turn it over to you guys.
Well, Hervé, tell me this. Tell me this. What has you pissed off most? Considering your background, considering knowledge of your history, I'm sure your father has some stories that will probably just scare the living lights out of us.
Yeah.
But what has you most concerned, most pissed off, most annoyed right now with the state of American politics?
What has me looking forward, what has me most concerned, and I remember saying this during the campaign last year, Brock, I might have even told this to you when we were talking once over the phone last year. This isn't cute. Don't underestimate the power that a dictator can take. I think a lot of people view this right now, what things that he is doing is cute. Oh, he's getting rid of the swamp. He's saving us billions and billions of dollars, of wasted taxpayer money. Oh, they're going to send everyone now a $5,000, dividend check and everything else like that. I'm like, you folks fail to realize you underestimate the power that a dictator can have. And in this country, that dictator also happens to be our commander-in-chief. So two things in answering your question. What has me concerned and almost scared is that we have not seen the worst.
Yeah.
Okay? It will get worse. Okay? This is just 60 days in. So it's going to get worse.
Maybe like 40 days in, I think. It may feel like 60. Right? I think it might only be 40.
I mean, you just marriage type things, right? But what has me pissed off currently in regards to things that he's done is that you say that, okay, hey, listen, you know what? We need to get rid of inefficiencies throughout these different government agencies. Fine. You can argue that there's inefficiencies everywhere. There's inefficiencies in all of our households. There are inefficiencies at big Fortune 500 companies, Google, Microsoft, Apple, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, obviously in government agencies as well. I'll give you that. No doubt inefficiencies, even in nonprofit organizations, right? But when you want to go ahead and make something that is currently inefficient more efficient, what do? You go ahead and you make an assessment, right? You make an audit. And from there you say, okay, based off of our assessment, based on the finality of this audit, we have decided this function, this department is inefficient. We need to update the computers. Maybe we do need to go ahead and lay some people off and things like that. But so let there be rhyme to reason. Let there be a method to the madness. Let there be numbers that you can manage to that justifies you laying people off, shutting down a department, shutting down an entire agency, and so on and so forth. But what they're doing is so damn rash, so damn quick. So it's indiscriminate, it is violent, it is aggressive. They've admitted to already making mistakes, firing those 300 people that work in our nuclear arsenal out of a total of 1,800. Out of a total of 1,800. This is like saying, I want to save money in my household, and so what are you going to do? You're going to buy one less paper clip this month. Oh, yeah, now that's big savings. Right? It doesn't move the needle. But now you fired the 300 people, you need to bring them back. You fired the people that were working in Department of Agriculture, the scientists that was studying bird flu, right, and the rise of bird flu. Oh, damn, we made a mistake. You're making these mistakes because you're not doing an audit. You're not making a path. You're not doing an assessment. You're just writing in things down. That is what has me angry.
Hervé, I would argue they don't know what these people do.
That's fine, but they're just not asking.
They don't even ask.
You know what I'm saying? If I come to you because I'm your new boss and you've been working in an agency for the past 10 years, I'm going to say, Mark, tell me what do you do at this agency, right? And when I come to you, or I come to your boss, and it's going to be on paper someplace exactly what you do. And you're going to tell me what you do. I'm going to see how much you get paid and the benefits and how much you work from home or the office or a combination of both and all this other stuff. And from that discussion, from that assessment, I'm going to make a decision. Mark is valuable to this agency. You have to understand, some of these people have been working in these agencies. They've been working through both Democratic and Republican administrations for decades. Decades. I have a buddy I went to college with. He's been working for the State Department for the past 25 years. I got a cousin who's been working as an SEC paralegal attorney down in Miami for the past 20 years. She got that email from Doji, a fork in the road. All right, you stay on until September, you get paid, you get your benefits, and then you're gone, you're out. But her colleagues, her bosses, no questions asked. This is the SEC that governs our financial markets on a global basis.
Right.
So it's just, this is what has me angry. And so the next question you have to ask yourself: if there is, if there is, if there is a true underlying reason behind why they're doing it in a blitzkrieg fashion, what is that reason? And it could be something as simple as they have 2 years to do it, right? Because new set of elections in 2 years, and so maybe it's that. Maybe it's something else. Do they just want to cause mass hysteria and confusion? Maybe it's that too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hervé, you talked about assessments, and you were kind of starting to lead us to like how a business would make the decisions, right? So, and I know we have that background together, working in finance and corporate America. So my question is, are you disappointed, surprised, angry, any of the above at the reaction of corporate America and our business leaders to Trump and their subsequent actions in lockstep with some of the government,
I will tell you this,
victims?
Brock, but here it is. I'm being straight up here. I have not heard of a lot of reactions from CEOs of private companies. I've heard some, and those that I've heard, they are disappointed. They're confused. You're talking about, listen, we're a federal government of 2 million federal workers, but we're a nation of 350 million people. A lot of those federal workers work in a service capacity for us 2 million people. You're talking about now firing people at the Department of Veteran Affairs. Our veterans, my father's a veteran, so many of you guys know many people that are veterans, right? These are veterans that a buddy of mine was telling me his sister was a lawyer for Department of Veteran Affairs. Her sole responsibility was try to get veterans their well-due benefits. She got fired, right? And she had a stack of 15 cases on her desk.
Wow.
Right? Who's going to fight for those veterans to get their benefits? Right? So you, Mark, when you ask me what makes me angry, that's what makes me angry.
Right.
Did anyone speak with her to say, hey, listen, what are you doing here? What do you do? I fight for veterans to get their benefits, but no one has to. Right? And you're not replacing her with anyone who's going to go ahead and fight for those veterans. Right? Brock, I do believe as months go on, as we start hearing more and more from CEOs, we're going to hear how disappointed they are, because it is just causing so much confusion in the overall marketplace. There are many industries in which government and private corporations, they overlap. They share resources. And you're leaving a lot out in the wind. A lot of your supporters, they think it's cute. Training the swamp, saving us billions and billions of dollars, we're going to get some money back in the end, everything else like that. But at the end of the day, we got to be careful of is what happens when people start getting hurt because of your indiscriminate cutting and no thought about what you're doing, such as one plane crash after another, right? These are the things that we're talking about. You want to say that the FAA is bloated? Okay. Go ahead and say the FAA is bloated, but then do an audit,
Right.
an assessment of the FAA.
Right.
Who is needed? Who is not needed? Because the planes are still flying in and out every day, domestic and international.
Right.
Oh, Brock, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, you wish you could mute me. So, Mark, maybe you're out there. Do you expect more from the business community? Did you expect them to like fight back on DEA and say, hey, no, it's good for our business? Or do you expect any CEOs to come out or do you just think they just got to make money and they're just going to roll with whatever makes the money?
You know what? I'm not surprised at what I'm seeing, right? Because the goal of the CEO is to help the organization be profitable, make money, grow, right? So you still have to do that even in the age of Trump, because you got shareholders that you have to answer to, and as the wheel turns. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing companies saying, you know what? Yeah, we're going to get rid of our DEI programs. We're going to call it something else.
Well, okay. Well, Mark, if they're going to call it something else, fine. You've had CEOs to this issue of DEI, and Brock, to your question, you had CEOs on DEI on both sides of the aisle, saying we're
Right.
going to continue with it or we're going to eliminate it.
Right.
McDonald's, Target eliminating it. JP Morgan Chase, Apple Computer keeping it. You even had Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, said, hey, this has made us stronger. This has made us better. And JP Morgan, not surprisingly, again, you can't manage what you can't measure. They have measurement tools in place as to how DEI efforts has made their business stronger, has made their employees better to communicate, contact, and network with their customers. Remember, they have commercial banking as well as investment banking, right? They're on the corner street, Main Street, but they're also on Wall Street and so on and so forth. They're like, hey, listen, these efforts have made us better because our customers, our suppliers, obviously our employees, they come from all over the world, right? Apple Computer, same thing. For those that have decided to eliminate DEI as a policy in their companies, right? And at the end of the day, let's just make sure we are clear when we're talking about DEI because it's been, excuse me, it's been in the news like crazy for months and months and months and everything else like that. By no means would I ever recommend or say that DEI should be used as a tool to go ahead and hire this white woman, this Latino man, this black man, or anything else like that. What DEI, from when if you can make an argument, it really started making its way to the forefront from the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So DEI has been around for a very, very long time. But mainly it's just to say for a woman, for a person of color who has similar level of education, training, certification, he or she should be looked for to get employment as well from this company, where otherwise they will not be given that opportunity. So,
Right.
people who are critics against DEI, what do they come out and they say? They're like, oh, this is a racist policy. You're going ahead and you're just hiring a black person just because he or she is black. You're hiring a woman simply because she's a woman. It's a sexist policy and everything else like that. Again, you can't manage what you can't measure. So what do? You go and you look in your organization, right? And you look in your organization and you have 100 managing directors inside of a bank, inside of an engineering firm. Of those 100 managing directors, how many of them are people of color? How many of them are women? Okay, if it is truly a huge imbalance, why is that? You can't sit here and tell me that you can't find people of color that don't have the same level of education, certification, and training as your 100 managing directors, right?
Right.
And so if you can, let's give them a shot as well.
Yeah, but you're looking for that's a long answer, right? And you're fighting a soundbite, right? You're fighting the soundbite of the right and the white, which is like, hey, we're getting screwed by the other who's not as qualified, and then you're in an argument about qualifications, or maybe the argument never even happens, and the change has been made, and just the soundbite won.
In that case, show them the numbers. Show them the
Right.
numbers.
Yeah.
And the numbers don't lie, Hervé, and I agree with you. But see, as Brock said, we're having a high-level conversation here.
Right.
We need to bring it back down to the streets. And there's a news item today. Joy Reid
I heard.
fired at
Yes.
MSNBC. Okay? Now, I got my towel because I'm hot. All right? I'm pissed because I've lived this world. Okay, MSNBC immediately after the election lost 55% of their viewing audience. Joy Reid didn't have 55% of MSNBC's viewing audience. Why is she the one out? Brock, you said it yourself. It's the only diversity on the left-leaning channel, right, that we have to choose from. Joy Reid is the only hour out of the day where you hear a black woman perspective on the day's news events, right? And now, so I say we need to go back to the streets because take a look at social media, right? The radical right is celebrating the demise of Joy Reid, right? And Hervé, so I have argued to Brock that black folks is ready for this. We used to suffering.
Well, yeah.
So-
Well, let me say that Brock will tell you, I have told him this many of times, and I think, Brock, you and I had a similar conversation right after the election. And I know you were, you know, you had to kind of step aside to kind of gather your thoughts for the long term. What does this mean and everything else like that, right? I mean, it was, I'm not going to say that you were, to the core, but I mean,
I thought America was going to come around. No, I'll admit it. I totally overrated America. I was the only one shocked
well,
that white women didn't come through. That white men voted for Trump in waves. Like I somehow was shocked by that. I got it.
well,
No.
I think, I mean, Mark, listen, man, to your point, you're 100% right. We, as a people, so many a times have been dealt the bad hand, the short stick, right? That we
yeah.
typically don't get the wins. We typically, don't get that red carpet treatment, doors open. You
Hold
don't
on, hold on.
participate in some of those backroom dealings that help your sons and daughters get the internships, that help you and your friends get the jobs, and so on and so forth, right? So Kamala not getting elected certainly was a disappointment, I would say, at that level, but unfortunately one in the past that we have gotten used to so many of times, and everything else like that. But in any time we've had a big letdown in our community, anytime we've had a big disappointment in our community, what do, Mark? We don't quit, man. Right? We pull ourselves up from the bootstrap and we keep marching on. The fight goes on because it's not given to us. We got to fight it. There's not a person of color I've ever met in my life that hasn't been told to by their parents, hey, you have to work twice as hard. You have to work twice as hard. Well,
To
in
be
theory,
happy
what does that
stand.
math mean? That if you work just at the same level of your white counterpart, then they're going to view you half as much. So
Yep.
to be viewed at the same level of them, you have to work twice as hard, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I would say that that number is even higher when you talk about for black women.
Yes,
You
indeed.
may not like, you might not have liked Kamala Harris and her policies. You might not have liked her as a person. But what you cannot say was that she was not qualified for the job. When you just look at her resume,
Yeah, you can't.
Right.
That argument.
you know what I
That
mean? Now,
argument can't or should be
and,
made.
and, and this is the issue that I have with DEI, right? It is putting people who have same level of qualifications and giving that person who does not have representation in this nonprofit, government agency, private company, an opportunity that otherwise he wouldn't have gotten in the past. So you look at, for example, the most recent, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, second
Oh,
black person ever to have that position, and he
to
just
hold
got
the
fired.
spot. Yep.
Just got fired on Friday, right?
Yep.
And you look at our new head of the Defense Department, Peter Hegseth, right? I think a little bit of a military career plus Fox News personality type thing.
Little bit of military. Little bit.
That's just a little tiny bit. Just tiny. He might have put on the uniform and went to the barracks, had some soup and bread with the people, and then well, Fox News personality. But you look at his qualifications to be the head of the Defense Department with darn near $3 trillion budget versus this brother that just got fired as Joint Chiefs of Staff. You look at his credentials. I was reading some of it today in his resumes. It was a laundry list. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It was
this came
huge.
from, I was like, this came from one person? Are you sure this got
Yep.
like 5 people? No, it was ridiculous. No, it's like 20 lines, if not longer, of accomplishments.
So Hervé,
Yeah.
in that topic of DA and messaging, Mark and I are constantly gauging what's going on in the universe and trying to look at it through black and white.
Okay.
Both we'll ask you this question. How do you feel about the messaging that's coming from the left, and what do you think the message is?
Oh my goodness. I'm not. Excuse me. I'm not hearing much messaging from the left.
No message.
I think the
Not
Democratic
surprised.
Party I think the Democratic Party is at a loss right now. I think they're flailing in the wind. I I think they are a ship without a rudder. I think they are a ship without a captain. Um, and you hear just, pieces and points and short sentences, from a Jasmine Crockett, or Hakeem Jeffries or whatnot, and highly respected, highly respected. But again, folks that are extremely, extremely intelligent people, right, and everything else like that. But they know, unfortunately, that they are not in a position of power, right? But they still feel that they have the need to speak up not only for their constituents, but speak up for, right, folks that we're supposed to be fighting for. Folks
So you moved from one of our topics to our second topic because we always talk message and then leadership.
Sure.
So from your point of view, who do you view as the leaders emerging from the black community? And it doesn't have to be a public office holder, right? Could be anyone. And who do you see from the white community?
Wow. It's a great question for the fact that I'm pausing this long.
I know. Me and Mark, we do whole segments on this. Okay, I mean,
there's no name that comes top of mind in regards to leader. Listen, I wish that Kamala, had stayed front and center even after she lost the election. I still believe that she has a very big following. She's very beloved by millions and millions of people across the country. We got to remember, this was a close election. Yes, Trump won, but it's not like it was, a complete blowout, right? Kamala Harris has a very, very big, a big following and a lot of supporters, and maybe even some more supporters now after Trump's first 40 days here in office. I think that I would have, especially with her youth, and her vigor. I would have loved for her to stay front and center.
I mean, her moment hasn't passed. She gave a speech and she won some NAACP award. I think it was last night, 2 nights ago. Gave a speech. I haven't seen the speech, but
she's not done.
Positively reviewed.
Not done.
Mark, I'm with you. I've been a little disappointed that she's kind of faded. I get it. I was sort of like, okay, recharge your batteries, but I don't think her loss to Trump should be, kind of the end of her being a national spokesman. Okay.
She's not done.
What about Hervé, hold on, just the last one, Mark. The white America side of the ledger, you see anyone at all?
Oh boy. Man, not as a leader, but you're still hearing, for example, on the left side, if you can see she's left side, right? Like Liz Cheney's voice, right? And you chuckle at that a little bit because she's Republican.
I know.
Very, very vocally against Trump and everything else like that. Listen, I think folks like her, you're always going to hear from, Chuck Schumer and everything else like that. I think it's been time for him to pass the baton, though. Really need to get some youth injected into this. Into this. I think AOC is, more has policy directives than anything else, but not in which she can amass a huge following with. And things. I respect her, but a lot more just policy directives than anything else. But again, Brock, regardless of color, I think, there's very, very little leadership. Who I'll tell you I would love to see is young man from recent elected senator of Arizona, Ruben, give me the last name.
Gallegos? Ruben Gallegos?
Yeah. Yep. I would love to
nice. That's a good call.
I would love to hear more from him. I would love to hear more, even though he's not in D.C., but he's only about an hour away. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland.
The other Wes Moore.
Yeah, man, brother is strong.
Very strong. Military background.
That's right. Former president of the Robin Hood Foundation in New York City.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I think only in his mid-40s, something like that. I mean, just well polished. I heard him speak at a conference last summer. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. So listen, That's today, but today is not tomorrow, right? And not next
Right.
month and next year. So that the void that exists today, I'm optimistic that it can be filled by
Right.
someone. I think that there are some good people in our party that can fill it, and things like that. I do believe, and I'll leave it here before turning it back to you guys, that Trump and today's Republican Party, they believe that the Constitution, in the manner that it was written, um, was not for them. They don't believe that they can govern from the Constitution in the manner that it was written in the 1700s, right? Three branches of government. They can't. It doesn't get it done for them, right? And so that's why they stepped outside of following the Constitution, and they're just going complete blitzkrieg, right? And changing things, not following through Congress, not following policies and protocols and everything else like that. I think it's time for the Democratic Party. I'm not saying at all to take a page from the Trump administration, but now it is time for us to go ahead and start thinking outside the nine dots, if you will, to go ahead and put back in place, put back in power some of these things that we so dearly care about, and things like that. I think it's a great opportunity for private organizations to go ahead and step in. And yes, I get it, Mark, like you said. Number one responsibility of the CEO is to improve shareholder value, right? They teach you that in Business 101, Economics 101. I get it, but it's not enough. It's not
Right.
enough. It's just shame on you. It is not enough. You have benefited way too much, way too long from so many people. Listen, a company like Amazon and Walmart, they made $180 billion in 3 months, right? That's $60 billion a month. That's $2 billion a day that these companies make.
Right.
A day. $2 billion in revenues per day, right? So now they got rid of their DEI initiatives and so on and so forth, so you can't lean on them. But I think JP Morgan Chase, the Apples of the world, I think they do need to step in somehow. I'm not sitting there saying that I've got all the answers filled out here, but I do think there's an opportunity for them to step
Well,
in.
especially if the market keeps tanking, people are going to be like, "Hey, business leaders, like they'll
Yeah.
have a little they'll have ammunition behind them to be like, whoa, these changes are fucking up our economy, and we're all getting poorer. Like we got to reverse or change some of this shit. Haven't maybe it's going to take another like 10,000 points in the Dow for people to be emboldened. But Mark, what were you thinking?
Yeah, Hervé, with your background, your family of Haitian descent, I wanna take this personal because to me, not being of Haitian descent, but being of brown skin, I was shocked at the way the Haitian community came under the gun up in Ohio. And I lived in Cincinnati, so I knew how red Ohio was. And I was shocked that they're eating the cats and dogs was a much better, more powerful message than I'll help you buy your first home. But
Yeah.
let's take it one step farther.
Hmm.
How did you help your family understand? First of all, yes, we are under attack, but understand this, we are better than that. And these characterizations do not affect us. Um,
Yeah.
and and I don't know. I had a lot of conversations with my kids around the elections. My kids are
Hmm.
older, but I have grandkids now, and I talk to them too about the things that they need to be aware of because it's all about always been about awareness in my household. My
Yeah.
parents are products of the segregated South.
Right.
So when it comes to awareness, tell me a little bit about how you dealt with that messaging and the fact that we couldn't knock it down.
Yeah, I would tell you that my Brock knows my boys are older as well. I got young adults. And one of them, lives with us now. The other one, has moved out because he's working. But luckily, they weren't, they weren't hurt by what they heard. They weren't, you know, uh, depressed by what they heard and whatnot because they knew what they heard was a damn lie. They knew it was a
Right.
damn lie.
Right.
And truth be told, Mark, I think millions of people around the country knew it was a damn lie.
Right.
Trump got on his soapbox, and during the debate, Haitians eating cats and dogs. You already had the mayor of Springfield, Ohio, deny it.
Right.
You had police deny it. You had to have the governor of Ohio come out and deny it. I mean, at some point,
Ridiculous.
enough is enough, man. It's not happening, right? JD Vance gets on his soapbox and he's talking the same. I know what's going on. I spoke to 2 people today. Just stop, right? What I remember speaking to Brock about this last year. There is something about Trump that his people have no problem allowing him to get away with one lie after another. This is not a
Oh my
Republican
goodness.
Democrat thing. To me, I cannot think of any other politician in the United States that can just woefully get away with outright blatant lies to your face and not face any repercussions. So, for example, and I know he wasn't at the highest level, but the Republican congressman from New York that lied his way into Congress, George
Santos.
Santos. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Santos lied. He lied.
Paid the
about
price.
Right, they lied about his background. They investigated, so they did an audit, right? Ethics committee and everything else like that. And it's, hey man, you lied. You lied about who you are. You lied about where you went to school. You lied about where you worked.
You lied about being a star volleyball player at like yeshiva universities. Right. The most bizarre lie in the history of sports.
No one's going to investigate this. No one's
going to check this out.
No one's going to check it out. Possibly. No one would ever do that to me, right?
Oh my gosh.
Someone who lies gets caught up in a lie. You do an investigation to that lie, and then you get repercussions.
Some people get repercussions at the lower level. But Hervé, my argument always Trump's giving these people what they want.
Yes.
They live and breathe the racism and the homophobia that he allows them to have. And that is such a gift to them that they will look the other way and ignore all these other transgressions. The question we ask on this discussion is, at what point does white America get fed up where the racism isn't enough? Do the Iowa guy in Iowa have to lose the farm? He has to lose the farm. Does Doji have to cut our Medicaid? Does insulin have to go $800 and people are dying on the street corner because they can't?
Does another plane need to fall out of the motherfucking sky? Excuse me, French.
Right.
And this is what I was saying before. People are going to get hurt. This is not a laugh.
They're getting hurt. Yeah. Not enough, I guess.
And I don't think they fully comprehend that. It's like Netflix did a great, a show on I think the rise of a dictator, how someone becomes a dictator, and every episode is on a different dictator from the past. Mussolini, Hitler, Duvalier, Idi Amin. It goes on and on and on about how they rose and how they got to power, right? And how you take a page from one versus another and everything else like that. And the scary thing about dictatorships, for everyone, once that dictatorships, they never end well.
No.
They don't end well for the dictator, and then they
or
don't
for the country.
end well
for the people.
For the people.
Yeah.
Right? And this, so when you asking me, Mark, what I'm scared about, this is what I'm scared about. Because we are already here. I think a lot of what Trump has been doing over the past 40 days is a test of the emergency broadcast system. Let's see what I can get away with. And he's touching every aspect of government to see what he can get away with. He's ignoring Congress. I can get away with that. Those are my guys. They've genuflected and kissed the pinky ring. I got my people on the Supreme Court. They pretty much kind of gave me, open-handed powers last summer, right? They gave me darn near all control. If it's in the best interest of the president. What did he come out last week and say? Well, darn near, if what I'm doing is breaking the law, but it's in the spirit of keeping this country safe, then it's okay for me to break the law.
Right.
Because they can't operate within the lines that have been drawn in the Constitution, right? We have to operate within these lines. He's like, no, I don't like lines. I'm going to draw outside of lines. I'm going
Right.
to work outside of these 9 dots. So he's testing each part of our foundation, and every single one of them is getting broken down. So
Yep.
when you ask me what scares me is folks are going to get hurt. Obviously, folks that voted for him. Obviously, folks that did not vote for him.
Yeah, everyone.
We're seeing it already.
But you get us to our third topic that we always talk about on each show, which is action. So what, this is like the drip of the faucet, although it's kind of coming pretty fast. Now it's almost like the faucet's on, right? So what do you think is the straw that breaks the camel's back to actually inspire some aggressive counter moves against MAGA/white supremacy? And is that a question that it's one thing for the black community, another for the white community, or does nothing ever happen and we just slide our way to autocracy and this show gets off the air, right? Doji even finds us, and
Right?
they'll find you two guys.
Yeah.
They'll find it.
They'll get to us. They'll get to us. Hey, why is this even here? Why is this here? So
Action.
you guys probably know the game Jenga, right? With the blocks, right? And the idea is to take a small block off and hope the entire tower does not collapse. Whoever causes the tower to collapse by removing the wrong block loses. And Brock, it's I hear your question loud and clear, and you're not going to like my answer, but the Jenga tower has to come down. The Jenga tower has to come. This has to be an undoing, man. And the undoing needs to start from within.
Right.
Again, when you look at the history of how dictators have fallen, it typically starts from a power structure, as hidden as it might be, from within, who they say enough is enough. That a Republican governor or senator or congressman saying, hey, you're hurting my constituents. And now you're hurting not only my constituents, you're hurting the American people, you're hurting our government. Enough is enough, but it has to start with them. And I don't have hope. Like you said earlier, I don't have hope that the Cruzes and the Rubios of the world are going to fall in line to do that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be something, Brock, that happens in a proactive fashion. It's going to be something that happens in a reactive fashion, because something so damn disastrous needs to happen first. And maybe not one disastrous thing, unfortunately. It has to be multiple disastrous things. We're talking about people dying.
I know.
Is what it's going to have to take, because, I was not able to get my prescriptions because you went ahead and cut Medicaid. I died on this, my parents died on this damn flight because there was one less person or two less people in the freaking FAA towers. And so on and so on. That veterans are dying because they can't get their benefits because they don't have a lawyer fighting for them anymore. There needs to be an unraveling, which will not happen today, tomorrow, next week, or next month, or next quarter. Because they're still seeing this nonsense take place.
Right.
Listen, I'll leave it here. I wish and I pray to God that there could be another solution, a better solution, and I hope that there is. I hope it does not have to take a completely unraveling and people. It's almost like the pandemic, right? It took 9/11 to happen in order for the Department of Homeland Security to be formed.
Right.
Because of different agencies, they were not communicating with each other. So over 3,000 people had to die, and they're like, you know what, maybe our agencies should start talking with each other.
One another, yeah.
Right? To root out
Great
terrorism. Right? But 3,000 people had to die first.
Right.
Right?
Right.
With pandemic. Right? Was it close to 2 million people?
Yeah, people had to die. Look,
Right.
George Floyd, it had to be 9 minutes and 36 seconds on camera.
Exactly
On
right.
camera to get one white cop. I guess 3 of them got arrested, right, and indicted, right? So we had as you were talking, Hervé, and saying it has to fall apart or some people have to die, I'm like, in my head, I was thinking they have to die on camera. Because if people
Right.
die off camera, it doesn't rile anyone up. But if
That's
people
right.
die on
Which is
camera,
why, which is why Trump wants to control the media.
Yeah,
Which is why he doesn't want you saying anything he doesn't approve of.
of course
And
not.
that's what we're seeing now. And that's what they're celebrating about Joy Reid. Remember what Joy Reid did every night for an hour? Joy Reid said, white folks, look yourself in the mirror. Can you live with what you see?
Right.
Right? Can you live with casting that vote that's going to cause so many people harm? Right? White women, white men who pulled that lever for Trump. Not once, but twice. But twice when you had much better alternatives. No one's been more qualified than Hillary Clinton to run this country. You look at her laundry list of accomplishments.
Qualifications, absolutely. And so
Absolutely.
this is what is going to have to happen, right? It's going to be, unfortunately, again, crashes, and it's going to have to be some things so debilitating. Stock
Right.
market, unemployment rate going to 6-7%. I mean, it's just going to have to be. It's like where people, it's like, whoa, what the f are you doing? This
Right.
ain't fun no more. And what my message is, it's like, folks, this was never fun to begin with. You thought when he came out last year at some point, he's like, I'm going to be dictator for a day. And he had a lot of his supporters, yeah, be dictator for a day. I'm like, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. And you
They're getting it.
Listen, a dictator can wake up tomorrow morning and take your bank account. Don't think it can't happen. If you think it's bad right now, and all you have to do is ask people who have lived under a dictatorship. My parents lived with one. You can't. They came. The military that was under the thumb of the dictator in Haiti at the time that my parents go. They came into my grandfather's house and dragged him away, and was never to be seen again. What did he do for a living? He was a journalist that spoke up against the government.
See? There's a playbook.
Joy Reid. Do you see what I'm saying?
There's a playbook.
There's a playbook.
There's a playbook.
They silenced him. He was never to be seen again.
Wow.
And then you're going to say, oh, we have to call, you ain't going to call anybody because no one can do anything.
No
for
one's
you.
coming. Right. Because
You
no one's
think
coming.
It's cute to go ahead and just completely demobilize our three branches of government. You are going away. Folks in Russia live scared. Look what he does to his political opposition.
He kills them.
Here, he kills them.
He murders them.
That is a dictator.
Yes. And he's got long tentacles.
And the boy king in North Korea, same thing. Kills anyone that tries to oppose him.
Yep.
I'm not sitting there calling Trump a murderer. I'm not calling Trump a murderer. This is public discourse. He's not a murderer. However, what I'm trying to express is don't underestimate the reach of a dictator. Oh, yeah, he's president. He can't do this. He would never do that. Oh, no, he's not allowed to do this. Yes, you can.
Right.
Yes, you can.
and unless somebody stops you, right?
Right.
I mean, he can do whatever he wants. If everyone just rolls over, then why would he stop?
That's right.
And that's the question. Who's
That's
going to
it.
stop him?
That's right.
And
it would have to
that's
be
where we're headed.
a collective force because things have gotten so bad. People have died. They've lost their life savings. They've lost their jobs permanently. You have people that were going to retire. Like my cousin, paralegal down in Miami, she's 20 years at the SEC, in line to get her pension. She doesn't know she's going to get her pension anymore, man. 20 years.
That is
she's single
disgusting.
mom, right? And,
See,
and
that is
you can't say
disgusting.
that you're laying her. You can't say that you're firing her because of poor performance.
But they can say it. They are saying that. No one's assessed the performance, but it's in the letter. A lot of letters, maybe not the one your cousin got, but like I've seen people read the letters that they received where they were told they were subpar, basically, right?
Right.
You and I, we worked in corporate America, so you very well know we had our year
Performance review. Yeah, no one got reviewed.
They all get reviewed. So if you're going to tell my cousin that she's getting fired because of poor performance, okay, fine. let's go to the files, and
Right.
let's look at her poor performance review from the end of December 31st, 2024. Did she get a poor performance review? Here's her review. What did her boss and her colleagues say about it? Oh, she worked
Right.
hard, team leader, and all this other stuff. No poor performance here, and so on
Yep.
and so forth. Right? So these are the things that need to happen, and it's just because of dictator. And Brock, the reason why I think it has to get that ugly is because if we were living in normal times, and I got to put air quotes when I say this, it's crazy that I use air quotes to say normal times, then you would say, okay, you would bring this person, they broke the law, file charges against them, do an investigation, put them through the court system, they're found guilty, and so on and so forth. This is not normal times. It's not happening to him because he's taking control
Not at
of
all.
the courts. See what I'm saying?
Not at all.
So then it has to come from within. Either the politicians or his people, or combination of both. I see the people doing it before his politicians. His politicians are scared of him. His Republican
Yeah.
politicians, they're genuinely scared of this man.
Yeah. We were talking political courage the last our last segment. We spent a lot of time on the lack of political courage.
Right, and you see what
Yeah.
happened, and they've seen what happened to their own colleagues.
That is it's a depressing message that you're laying out because you're saying it's going to take longer
Yes,
for things to unravel, which means more bad things happen
yes,
before the Jenga piece gets pulled that pulls down
yes.
the edifice,
The whole stack of
and
cards.
then maybe finally riles up enough people from within and outside for there to be a true resistance. That sounds like to me a lot of pain and suffering
Yes,
before we get to the motivation stage.
yes, 100%.
No doubt.
And I would probably have never given an answer like that to a question that I've been asked because I'm 51% optimist. I'm glass half full kind of a guy. The reason why I've never given an answer like that before is because I've never lived in these times before. This is a first for all of us.
Yeah.
Living in these kinds of
Absolutely.
Right, we've lived under Republican administrations and Democrat administrations and so on and so forth. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. Sure, I could deal with Republicans want small government, Democrats want big, blah, blah, blah. I get all the campaign issues. You're, pro-life, pro-choice. I get all of that, right? Minimize taxes, fine. Just go climate control and all this other stuff. That ain't the dog of the campaign issues. And this is why remember when I was talking to people and obviously voting last year, it's not about the damn campaign issues. Because you could take out Trump and put in Nikki Haley. You could take out Trump and put in another Republican candidate. They're all going to talk the same damn campaign issues and their positions
Right.
on it. But it's how they're going about it. And this is
Right.
why I told you, Brock, that if Nikki Haley were to be the Republican candidate for president, I wouldn't have a problem with it because 40 days into her presidency, I know Nikki Haley would not be running the country the way that Trump is right now.
Mhm.
She would say
Yeah.
small government and taxes and,
Yeah.
problem of climate. That's something that I don't care about the issues.
Yeah, because she's not a psychopath. She's just a politician who has political views. She's not like,
Right.
deranged and like damaged and, taken, a malignant narcissist and a pathological liar and the laundry list of things that Trump is and in mental decline. Like, so
Right.
there's a pot for us. Okay, so yeah, you're leaving me. I don't know if but you know what? Optimism's great if it helps people have the energy for the fight, that they can see a better world ahead of them. I'm all for optimism on that front, but I don't want the rose-colored glasses. I want everyone has to have an extremely healthy dose of realism, because right, there's not a lot of optimism in war, right? And we're in an internal war here, so like everyone has to be realistic what's going on around them. So pie in the sky optimism, I think it's the wrong
You know
time
what?
for that.
We've got to be optimistic like the people of Ukraine. I think it's that grave right now, right? Because the people of Ukraine did not hesitate for 1 second to go put on a military uniform. The men of Ukraine got themselves together and went straight to the front lines, with or without training. They didn't care. They said, you know what? What good is this country if it ain't good enough to defend? and I love my country. And they got out there and they put themselves on the front line, risking life and limb to protect to protect their home and their people. Zelensky's a hero in my book.
100%.
I mean, he could have run. He had the means to do it. He decided to stay and fight.
Yeah.
There are so many heroes in the Ukrainian story right now in this 3-year nightmare that they're going through.
Mark, how
And
is
no,
this going to end?
yeah,
How's
go
this
ahead.
going to end? You know what I mean? I mean,
Right,
the same thing in regards to my thoughts like you do on Zelensky, but it's like, how do they end without any more U.S. support? I mean, you got freaking Trump calling this guy.
did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I'm saying that you have Trump calling this guy a dictator right now.
Right,
And I feel so sorry for the guy because he's just trying to defend his country and his people. I mean, this guy's in the trenches. He's been in the trenches for the past 3 years in this damn fight. It's straight up
right.
a David and Goliath type of straight out of the Bible, David and Goliath type story.
And Ukraine is kicking their ass. Kicking their ass.
NFL stands for not for long, though. If they don't continue to, right? Yeah, Atlanta, right? If they don't continue to get the military weapons from the U.S. So
Right.
Brock, I talked about it, right? Our friends to the north. I mean, you see how many Americans were pulling for Canada to defeat the United States in hockey last Thursday. This is where we are. They're like, hey, listen, we don't care what the administration says. We still love you. You
Right.
guys are forever our neighbors. You guys are forever our friends. Congratulations on winning the hockey match against them.
Oh, we were both rooting for Team Canada.
Right.
I mean, I didn't feel great. Didn't feel great, but
No, not
Right.
at all. I mean, but it's like you don't do that to friends,
yeah,
right?
Right.
You don't treat friends like that. An individual, a group of people, let alone a country, that have been by your side throughout the entire time. You just
Absolutely.
don't turn the switch off on them. So, listen, the one thing is, if I can leave it on a high note, man, I think the fight will continue to be as it always has been in the trenches. Um, um, Listen, you could be upset about Joy Reid right now, but let me tell you right now, she's as tough as they come, Mark. She will
Oh, no
land
doubt.
on her feet someplace else. It could be a
Absolutely.
podcast like yours. She might invite you onto her podcast or something like that. And it could be another network, man. But I mean,
Right.
people, her, Kamala laying on her on her 2 feet and everything. I think she signed with an agency, so I don't know if she's going to get into producing some documentaries and things like that about her life or things that she's experienced and stuff like that. But I hope she's not out of the fight. Yeah, man. But it's won in the trenches.
No doubt.
But
No doubt.
yeah, and so the fight goes on, man.
I actually
Well,
would like
okay.
to see. I mean, she needs to sleep on it, but I wouldn't mind her saying, "I'm taking time off from the
Right.
media and I'm going to lead this fight." And just
Yeah.
come into the political world and step out of the media and say, you know what, this is a time for fighting, and because she has the voice and she expresses the message. That's what media people do great, right? They're great at the
doubt.
messaging.
Yeah.
Help with the messaging.
All right, Hervé.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm a
What a
little.
pleasure.
Yeah, I'm a little beat. Yeah, I'm a little more beaten down than I was when I started, if that was possible. But hey, you know what? Realism's a sour pill
No
in this
doubt.
age.
No doubt. But we're going to keep the faith.
Yeah, man. I read an interesting quote from a philosopher, a UK philosopher back in the days, Bertrand Russell. He said, "First they fascinate the fools, then they muzzle the intelligent."
Ah,
It's the
sound
muzzle-
familiar?
It's the muzzling that is
Yeah.
going on right now.
Yeah, I feel like
Right.
I think they're doing both at the same time.
Well,
No doubt.
The fools have already been tended
Yeah, they're-
because they voted the man into office. So
Yeah.
now
Right.
it's silencing the intelligence.
No doubt. Well, Hervé, we're going to have to invite you back on, man. Incredible insight. We certainly appreciate it, man. We're going to check in with you from time to time and see
Absolutely.
what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Hey, listen, man. Thanks so much again for having me on the show. It was a lot of fun. Sorry we went over, but I love what you guys are doing. Keep on spreading
Awesome.
the message. It's not going to end on a bad note. The fight goes on, right?
Yeah, fight goes
doubt.
on. All right,
No
thank you,
doubt.
Hervé.
All right, Hervé, my man.
Be well.
Have a great night. Peace. We'll see you on the next edition of Know Your Enemy, a primer in black and white.
Take care.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, Mark, you're gonna have to. You might have to get your editing out. I think we were.
Mark, I think you're still recording.
Oh yeah, that's a Mark edits these at the end,
Yeah.
or if you want to unrecord it. But we'll have some outtakes, some bloopers for the.
No doubt.
Yeah, man.
Hey, well, listen, gentlemen, I got another group waiting for me on the other line. I
Okay.
overshot it.
All right, Mark. Be in
We'll
touch.
send you the link, Hervé.
All right. Can't wait to see it, man. Thanks.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Bye.
Talk soon. Peace.